Okay guys, I have another Glycine Combat Sub. This one is the gl0092. There is a ton of different colorways of this thing. This one definitely is one that piqued my interest with the gold slash kind of rose goldish color. They're not like straight gold, but they're definitely leaning more towards straight gold versus rose gold, I guess. But so gold with the red bezel accent and then the gilded or gold colored hands and printing and everything like that. It just looks phenomenal. Very much like you would say like a black bay. I didn't go through the trouble of looking up to find out if this colorway of this glycine existed before the black bay red did. I'm not 100% sure if it did or this came after. I guess it doesn't really matter to me, but it would be interesting if somebody wants to look that up because there is the potential that this colorway actually existed before the Black Bay Red. But either way, I know that's what most people are going to, compare it to as far as its overall design, colors, and everything used. So you can see you have like a standard handset. There's another, I forget the number of it, but there's another one that has a similar colorway to this, but it has kind of like a Mercedes hand on it. I rather prefer this one. So, but let's get over the sizes here real quick. So it is a 42 mil watch, but because it's crazy thin, it doesn't really wear like a 42. And you have an oversized crown, so that 42 is not including the crown and the crown guards. You do have a slightly long 50 millimeter lug to lug, but you can see the turn down on the lugs are really nice. And at that profile right there, you can see this thing is crazy thin, 10.5 millimeter thin. So that's partly because they use, depending on what generation it is, it could either be an ETA 2824 or it could be the Sellita SW200. Both of them great movements, and they're both kind of same type of movement, really. But it allows it to be pretty thin packaging overall because it still does have the 200 meter water resist. Screw down case back as well. You can see laser etched in. Pretty clean design there. 22 millimeter lug width. This one comes on this canvas leather back strap with a nice buckle there. So 22 mil, you're going to be able to do whatever NATO or strap you want to do. This canvas strap is actually a really good quality one. I couldn't help but wonder, I didn't go through the trouble of doing it, but I think because this thing's so thin, on an elastic strap, whether it be an Erica's or like this one, like the Watch Steward, where it really capitalizes on the thinness, if you were to put one of these straps on there, this thing would be insane comfortable and you would have all of the thinness because you're not adding any layers of the case back on there. But I would easily probably put this guy on one of these straps. So bezel action on this, 60 click. And I have to say the bezel action sounds nice. It feels nice. Typically with 60 click bezel, there is going to be a little bit of play or, I don't know how to explain it. It's just not as tight as say like a 120 click, but it has a better feel to it and it locks in better. It's really bizarre going from 120 to a 60 and how many different variations of designs there are and how they feel in hand. But this one lines up really good, feels really good. Definitely a fun fidget spinner. The sound and the feel of it is satisfying. You definitely are going to want to spin it a few times. So again, the crown action, just like the glycine that I've had on before, you have a nice pop to it, and then just insane good, robust. I mean, like no wobble or anything. Like it's just spot on. It's just a really good design, however they did it. So if you take a close up at the dial, you can see it's a matte black, and then all the printing's in like a gilded type tone. You do have a nice polished gilded gold colored handset, and then you do have the glycine logo just above the wording glycine, and then you have the cutout date window at the 3 o'clock with a black date wheel, of course, but also kind of boxed in with that same print. So all really good stuff there. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they're using C1 lume because the lume on the glycines is probably one of the biggest letdowns. And I know there's an opportunity there. Like I would love to see like this exact same watch. Don't change anything. The movement, the crown, and the bezel action, all of that. just refresh the dial and use some excellent C3 or C3X1 and go with maxi printed on maxi size dots, you know, or you don't even need to do applied indices really. I think printed on is fine if they're done at the right size and a heavy application of lume. So let me pop this thing on wrist for you real quick, and also say big thanks to Derrick for lending this in. Appreciate that. But I mean, really on my 7 1/4, it fits perfect. It wears great. It's going to work on a many different size wrist because that thinness is just instantly apparent when you put this thing on wrist. It's just so thin, and that lug to lug being 50 mil is fine because they turn down sharply, so they're going to follow the contour of your wrist. And even, like I said, even with this canvas strap, it's very balanced and comfortable. But I could see putting this on an elastic strap. I still have yet to try out a Combat Sub with the factory bracelet. I suspect the bracelet's probably pretty good, but I could easily see this being on an elastic strap. So here it is. I know a lot of people like the comparisons. Here it is next to an SKX for size comparison. And again, that thinness is just insane. It is, I mean, that's like, I think if it did not have that 10.5 millimeter, say this thing was like 12.5 mil, this watch would not be nearly as cool. Part of that cool factor is certainly how thin it is. So let me give you a lume shot. As you can see, I mean, the lume is there, and you can tell it certainly on the handset, it's a little bit brighter, but with the diminutive printed on indices that are on this dial, there's just not as much real estate as required to get a really good application of lume. So hopefully, because they're not going to get rid of the Combat Sub anytime soon, so hopefully moving forward, we're going to start seeing some improvements in that. And I'm excited to witness that. Hopefully that actually happens. Maybe they listen to people. I don't know. So price-wise, I did look this up on eBay right before I did this video. And again, it's a moment in time that I'm capturing this price. But I found one on there brand new for $359. Joma Shop listed them for $299, but they don't have any in stock. I know these things pop up on drop all the time, and I suspect they're around that $300 mark. I've never purchased one on drop, but I've come close many times. So, but now that I've held a few of them in hand, I can tell you they're a great option, especially if you're around that $300 mark. It's a steal. It's a really good value proposition. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next vid.